There is a mistake modern life encourages almost everyone to make. It teaches people to measure loneliness by numbers. How many contacts are in your phone? How many conversations you have in a day? How many rooms you enter where other people are present? By that definition, loneliness should be disappearing. And yet, across societies with more connection than at any other point in history, loneliness is becoming one of the most persistent human experiences. This contradiction is the clue. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of resonance. History offers a useful correction here. For most of human existence, survival required tight alignment between individuals and their group. People shared labor, risk, values, and meaning. Resonance was not optional, it was structural. When that resonance broke, individuals did not merely feel sad. They became vulnerable, disoriented, detached from the rhythms that gave life coherence. Loneliness in that sense was not emotional weakness, it was a warning signal. Why loneliness has always been about alignment rather than isolation explains why modern solutions often fail. Loneliness occurs when people no longer feel mirrored in their environment, when their values, pace, and priorities are no longer reflected back to them. You can speak all day and still feel unseen. You can be included and still feel unrecognized. Resonance requires shared orientation, not just shared space. How modern life disrupts resonance without people noticing is subtle but consistent. The first disruption comes from fragmentation. In earlier societies, roles were clearer and meaning was shared. Today, individuals move between environments that demand entirely different versions of the self. Professional spaces reward performance. Social spaces reward likability. Digital spaces reward visibility. Over time, people learn to adjust constantly. Adaptation becomes survival. The cost is coherence. When the self becomes situational, resonance becomes rare. Why loneliness increases even among socially active people follows from this. When interactions are built on performance rather than presence, connection just, remains shallow. People exchange information, opinions, and updates, but not orientation. They speak without being known. Historically, resonance required shared struggle, shared risk, and shared responsibility. Modern comfort removes much of this. Without pressure to depend on one another, connection becomes optional, and, optional things are often neglected. How loneliness teaches people to withdraw rather than reach out is another pattern repeated across history. When resonance is absent for long periods, the nervous system adapts, it reduces expectation. Hope is expensive when it is repeatedly unmet. Over time, people stop reaching not because they do not want connection, but because they have learned that effort does not produce return. This withdrawal is often mistaken for introversion or independence. In reality, it is protective disengagement. Why loneliness is frequently confused with personal inadequacy adds to the damage. Modern narratives frame loneliness as a failure of social skill, attractiveness, or effort. Historically, this framing would have been unrecognizable. A lack of resonance meant the environment had changed, not the individual's worth. When people internalize loneliness as a personal defect, they seek solutions in self-optimization rather than realignment. They try to become more appealing instead of more authentic. So, how resonance is restored begins with identity stabilization. People who know what they value, what they stand for, and what they are building, they just kind of radiate coherence. Resonance occurs naturally around coherence. Historically, individuals who were grounded in role and principle attracted others who shared orientation. Practically, this means articulating values and living them visibly. For example, if honesty matters, practice it even when it costs comfort. Over time, interactions become fewer, but deeper. Resonance replaces volume. Why belonging follows alignment rather than approval is, honestly, a crucial distinction. Belonging is not being accepted everywhere, it is being understood somewhere. Many people chase inclusion by minimizing difference. Historically, this strategy led to invisibility. Groups function best when individuals contributed distinct strengths. To apply this now, choose environments that reward contribution over conformity. Leave spaces where self-erasure is the entry fee. How solitude differs from loneliness is another historical insight worth recovering. Solitude was once a respected state, associated with preparation, reflection, and strength. Loneliness was the absence of shared meaning. Modern life collapses the two. People fear being alone because solitude has been stripped of purpose. Reclaiming solitude as intentional time restores internal resonance, which in turn makes external resonance possible. Why small, deliberate changes reduce loneliness more effectively than, constant social activity can be seen in historical practice. Shared routine actually builds resonance faster than shared entertainment. Choose one regular point of contact rooted in purpose. This could be, say, a weekly walk, a study group, or shared work. Consistency signals commitment. Commitment builds trust, and trust enables resonance. How to apply this understanding begins with a simple audit. Notice where you feel most drained after interaction. Notice where you feel most grounded. Reduce exposure to spaces that demand constant adaptation. Increase time in environments that allow you to be precise rather than performative. Speak less, but more honestly. Choose depth over frequency. Over time, the nervous system relearns that connection can be safe and reciprocal. What loneliness looks like once resonance returns is often quieter than expected. It does not announce itself as happiness. It feels like ease, like fewer explanations, like being able to speak plainly and be met without distortion. Historically, this was the condition that allowed individuals to endure long winters, uncertain futures, and shared hardship without despair. If this perspective helped you understand loneliness not as isolation but as misalignment, subscribe to Inner Compass for more long-form explorations of identity, resilience, and human survival across time. Share this video with someone who values depth over distraction. And stay with us, because the patterns that carried people through the past still offer guidance for living well now.